Hello everyone, and welcome back to Occult Perspectives. I'm your host, Tyler Smith. What I do on this YouTube channel is I break down different esoteric research subjects. We talk about Kabbalah, the Tree of Life, ceremonial magic, and Freemasonry, among many other topics. I also have a Patreon as well. If you want further information on any of these subjects, I have an audio book or an audio clip of my book, Freemasonry and Ceremonial Magic. The first few chapters are on there. You can even get little previews of the first couple chapters, I think the prologue in chapter 1. And I also have an instructional video on there as well for the lesser invoking ritual of the pentagram. So that's only $5 a month. If you want to become a part of that, I have 4 members so far, and I'm going to go ahead and give a shout out to them. Cory Falcone, Joseph Arthur, Nicholas, and Isaac Mason. Thank you to my patrons for supporting what I do. It really means a lot. So any little bit helps. And it is my pleasure to share knowledge with those who are interested in these types of subjects and can take some of what you learn on here and integrate it into your own practices and your own understandings. So that is kind of what I seek to do with the great work. All right, so the subject of this video is going to be the lost word of Freemasonry. So first, I'm going to go ahead and read a couple sections from Manly P. Hall's The Secret Teachings of All Ages. And then I'll read just a little bit from Morals and Dogma. There's a lot of information regarding the lost word of Freemasonry. It gets really mystical. And so what I hope to do by the end of this video is kind of break it down to its more practical aspect. What does the lost word of Freemasonry actually mean and the practical everyday use of it? So let's go ahead and read a couple sections here. The figure of Isis, so we're jumping into Isis right away, some Egyptian stuff, is sometimes used to represent the occult and magical arts such as necromancy, invocation, sorcery, and thaumaturgy. Not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. In one of the myths concerning her, Isis is said to have conjured the invincible God of eternity's Ra to tell her his secret and sacred name, which he did. This name is equivalent to the lost word of Masonry. By means of this word, a magician can demand obedience from the invisible and superior deities. So there's always kind of like this, in the mythical version of the word, you know, not so much the practical application, which it can, you know, it would eventually manifest something like this, but it was like a magical word or a magical incantation, which isn't really far off, but we don't want to get lost in like the mysticism of that. We want to learn like what does it really mean at its core. So let's read a little bit more about this lost word. In the myth of Hiram Abiff, so the lost word it plays a very important role in the 3rd degree, particularly of Freemasonry. So if you are already a Mason or you know the myth of Freemasonry, you already know about Hiram Abiff and the loss of the true word. That's kind of what the whole 3rd degree, centralizes around. That's the main theme. So see Hiram, or Hiram. See Hiram is more of like an alchemical meaning, has more of an alchemical meaning to the name. See Hiram is termed dead because in the average individual, the cosmic creative forces are limited in their manifestation to purely physical and correspondingly materialistic expression. Obsessed by his belief in the reality and permanence of physical existence, man does not correlate the material universe with the blank north wall of the temple. Because remember, the north is always corresponding to earth, and in Masonry, it's termed the place of darkness. As the solar light symbolically is said to die as it approaches the winter solstice, which is usually on the physical plane, will always, whether you're using the physical cardinal directions or the astral ones, north is still always earth, still always corresponds to winter. Reaching the winter solstice, the sun apparently stands still. Oh, sorry, I skipped a line. As the solar light symbolically is said to die as it approaches the winter solstice, so the physical world may be termed the winter solstice of the spirit. Reaching the winter solstice, that's a hard word to say over and over. The sun apparently stands still for 3 days, and then, rolling away the stone of winter, begins its triumphal march north towards the summer solstice. What does this sound familiar to? Jesus dies for 3 days, rises again. This is all astrological stuff. But it also has to do with the internal condition of the human soul as well, death and rebirth, which is what all the mysteries, the whole mystery is about. Let's see if I can get this phone to stand up a little bit taller. There we go. Reaching the winter solstice, the sun apparently stands still for 3 days, and then, rolling away the stone of winter, begins its triumphal march north towards the summer solstice. In the Lodge, this is like towards the south. The condition of ignorance may be likened to the winter solstice of philosophy, spiritual understanding to the summer solstice. So the summer is more spiritual understanding. It's more that fire, and then the winter solstice as the condition of ignorance, it says. From this point of view, initiation into the mysteries becomes the vernal equinox of the spirit, at which time the Hiram in man crosses from the realm of mortality into that of eternal life. That wasn't even the part I really wanted to read. Here, I'll read this part. This has more to do with the actual lost word. The martyred son in the Master Mason degree, Hiram's body is discovered by Ares, a fellow craftsman, and at the vernal equinox, the process of raising him begins. This is finally accomplished by the Lion of Judah, who in ancient times occupied the position of the keystone of the royal arch of heaven. Some more astrological significances going on here. The precession of the equinoxes causes various signs to play the role of the murders of the sun during the different ages of the world, but the principle involved remains unchanged. Such is the cosmic story of C. Hiram, the universal benefactor, the fiery architect of the divine house. See that fire element there, who carries with him to the grave that lost word, which when spoken, raises all life to power and glory. According to Christian mysticism, when the lost word is found, it is discovered in a stable, surrounded by beasts and marked by a star. So a lot of the times, Jesus is equated to the lost word. Some say Jesus is the lost word, or at least what he represents. After the sun leaves Leo, the days begin to grow unequivocally shorter as the sun declines towards the autumnal equinox, to again be slain by the 3 autumn months, lie dead through the 3 winter ones, and be raised again by the 3 vernal ones. Each year the great tragedy is repeated and the glorious resurrection takes place. So there was a little bit on the lost word in there. There's just a couple other sections I want to read in this book real quick. In the book of coming forth by day, many of the Egyptian secrets have been preserved to this generation. While this ancient scroll has been well translated, only a few understand the secret significance of its magical passages. Oriental races have a keen realization of the dynamics of sound, so that's another key component to the lost word, is understanding the vibration of words and tones and sounds, and the science of these sounds. And obviously in ceremonial magic, when you're performing the lesser ritual of the pentagram, you are vibrating those key god names. They know that every spoken word has tremendous power, and that by certain arrangements of words they can create vortices of force in the invisible universe about them and thereby profoundly influence physical substance. Very profound. The sacred word by which the world was established, the lost word which Masonry is still seeking, and the threefold divine name symbolized by Aum, A-U-M, the creative tone of the Hindus, all are indicative of the veneration accorded the principle of sound. The so-called new discoveries of modern science are often only rediscoveries of secrets well known to the priests and philosophers of ancient pagandom. Man's inhumanity to man has resulted in the loss of records and formula which, had they been preserved, would have solved many of the greatest problems of civilization. So it's still this idea of humanity losing its knowledge. It's losing its alignment with natural law and source. So that really too is another understanding of the lost word. With sword and firebrand, races obliterate the records of their predecessors, and then inevitably meet with an untimely fate for need of the very wisdom they have destroyed. So when the lost word is reclaimed, when that spirit of divine truth is reignited or sparked once again in mankind, the world which we know deep down in our hearts truly exists, that feeling we've had, most of us from when we were really young, we've just known that there's more, that internal drive, that is the lost word trying to express itself. And it's the same as in is it the book of John? In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. I may not be quoting that exactly correctly, but that's the whole idea. The lost word, the logos, manifesting the world, the source, divine source, speaking the universe into existence, into its manifold existence. In the Kabbalistic mysteries, according to Eliphas Levi, the name Jehovah is occasionally written by connecting together 24 dots. The 24 powers before the throne, they can be symbolic of, and it is believed that the name of the power of evil is the sign of Jehovah reversed or inverted. Of the great word, Albert Pike writes, "The true word of a Mason is to be found in the concealed and profound meaning of the ineffable name of deity, communicated by God to Moses." So the whole burning bush. And if you, obviously, with ceremonial magic, one of the names that we vibrate at the one of the quarters is the Aheye, which means I am that I am, but more accurately, it would be described as I am what I shall be. So in some instances, that's considered to be the lost word. There's other sacred names of God, such as the Tetragrammaton, which is the Yod-He, Vav-He, which is also used in the lesser ritual of the pentagram. That's another variation of the lost word. So there's lots of different meanings to the lost word. It's a multifaceted subject, and it's not just quite one thing. Let me read this Albert Pike quote again. I got off on a little tangent there. "The true word of a Mason is to be found in the concealed and profound meaning of the ineffable name of deity, communicated by God to Moses, and which meaning was long lost by the very precautions taken to conceal it. The true pronunciation of that name was in truth a secret, in which, however, was involved the far more profound secret of its meaning. In that meaning is included all the truth that can be known by us in regard to the nature of God." Yeah, you couldn't even pronounce or say, the Tetragrammaton back then. It was prohibited to do so. The true name of God, though, is, we can't really pronounce it. It is the unutterable name, because if we could say it, then it wouldn't be the ultimate name. For that name which can be known or which can be said, it is not the ultimate divine name of God. So this is from Morals and Dogma. Science with her many instruments, astronomy particularly with her telescope, physics with the microscope, and chemistry with its analyses and combinations have greatly enlarged our ideas of the deity. By discovering to us the vast extent of the universe in both directions, its star systems and its invisible swarms of minutest animal life, by acquainting us with the new and wonderful force or substance we call electricity, apparently a link between matter and spirit. And still the deity only becomes more incomprehensible to us than ever, and we find that in our speculations we but reproduce over and over again the ancient thought. Where, then, amid all these conflicting opinions, is the true word of a Mason? My brother, most of the questions which have thus tortured men's minds, it is not within the reach and grasp of the human intellect to understand. But without understanding, as we have explained to you heretofore, we may and must believe. The true word of a Mason is to be found in the concealed and profound meaning of the ineffable name of deity, communicated by God to Moses. I think this is what we just read from, because Manly P. Hall, he quotes Morals and Dogma quite a bit. These are both very important books to read if you want to get a deeper understanding of Freemasonry at its core, what the ancient mystery tradition actually is. Yep, so really that's just the same section that I read before. I know there's another section in here too where he talks about the Tetragrammaton a bit. The reason why he was saying that in that meaning is included all the truth that can be known by us. The Tetragrammaton it's a compound word. It's actually 4 words, I believe. It's the 4 letters, but each letter, one represents archetypal masculinity, another physical masculinity, another archetypal feminine energy, and then physical feminine energy. So with those 4 influences combined, it's like the totality of everything in the physical world can be represented by that name, that Tetragrammaton name. Sometimes the lost word is also referred to as the Ein Sof, so it's the limitless all, or that first ray of light which shot into the primordial chaos, the Ein, the no thing, which is in fact all potentiality. But it was this, it was the ray of light. It was that masculine energy, that straightforward energy which came and illuminated that quote-unquote darkness, which led to physical manifestation. We've talked a lot about the Ein on this channel in its primordial state, and how that trickles down creation. There's the limitless all, that first ray of light, and then the infinite light, and then the tree of life is thus formed from there downwards. But then there's also a lot that happens before, a lot that takes place even before the formation of the tree of life. Talking about the formation of like the Qliphoth, things to that nature are very key in understanding like what happened before the formation of the tree of life. So for that, I recommend Thomas Carlson's Kabbalah, Qliphoth, and Goetic Magic. And then another good series of books is Madame Blavatsky's The Secret Doctrine. I have, I think it's like 6 books, a 6-book set. It's huge, but it takes you through like the whole creation process, from the Ein, or the primordial feminine chaos in the beginning, and all the different emanations which led up to the creation of the tree of life. So it's a pretty profound subject. All of the stuff, it becomes interconnected, and it just starts getting really as deep as you want to take it. And then if you're a practitioner, you start working with these forces within your own body. You work with the different Sephiroth on the tree of life, which really just represent different aspects of ourselves. So I'm going to go ahead and read about the lost word from this document. If you Google a basic Masonic education course for Master Masons with questions, the first one that pops up, there's a document from the Grand Lodge of Ohio. There's one for each degree, so if you want to know about the Entered Apprentice degree, you type in a basic Masonic education course for Entered Apprentices with questions. Whichever degree you want to learn about should pop up on Google. And I'm going to read the little disclosure here. It says, "This manual does not disclose any of the esoteric portions of the ritual of the Grand Lodge, The contents of this manual, therefore, may be discussed with and read by any person interested in acquiring knowledge about Freemasonry. Masonic organizations are invited to reproduce, extract, copy, or reprint the contents of this book. So I highly recommend this for all 3 degrees if you want to learn a lot about what Freemasonry actually is, and pretty much most of what takes place in the rituals is explained in these documents. It's very straightforward. It's very, it's very basic as well, but it really tells you everything you need to know about practically understanding Freemasonry, and even goes into the symbolism, of each of the symbols a bit. And I base my book even like loosely on this document. I use it as kind of like a blueprint or a rubric to kind of base my book off of. I use it as I'm working on it. Here is a section on the lost word. In the search for that which was lost, quote, we are not actually searching for a particular word. Our search is a symbol for our feeling of loss or exile from the source of life. Like I said, it's that yearning, that desire to get back to that original beauty and transcendence, which we've always known, we've always been connected to. And, through practices like meditation and things of that nature, you are going to come in contact with the lost word, which is really just the lost word of creation. This is, even though it's a part of Freemasonry, this is like a universal truth. It's the primordial vibration, the primordial pronunciation of God. And when we take this into our own lives and we go forth and we become creators or manifestors, we become the builders, we become the architects of that world which we seek to manifest. That is the true and proper usage of the lost word. So sorry, once again, I had to just get that out. I'll go ahead and start this over. In the search for that which was lost, quote, we are not actually searching for a particular word. Our search is a symbol for our feeling of loss or exile from the source of life. What we are searching for is divine truth, which should be the ultimate goal of all men and Masons, of all people everywhere, really. The book of Genesis gives us a clue to the power of speech. In it, we learn that the first act of creation occurred when God said. The utterance of the word is also closely connected with the idea of light. Remember, we were talking about that Ein Sof, that original primordial light coming into existence to illuminate the darkness. The utterance of the word closely connected with the idea of light and therefore knowledge, because light is equivalent to knowledge. We see this with all bearers of light. Having the power of speech is perhaps the noblest attribute of man, because he can communicate his thoughts to his fellows. And look at how much we misuse this power in our world today. We take it for granted. We don't really, hold that power sacred. And when we do that again, when we speak with meaning and when we channel, our higher selves, when we channel the divine essence from the all, we are able to better use that current, that magical current or energy to produce tangible effects on this world which are beneficial. So that would be the use of the lost word. Thus, the word has been carried down through the ages as synonymous with every manifestation of divine power and truth. We must always search diligently for truth and never permit prejudice, passions, or conflicts of interest to hinder us in our search. We must keep our minds open to receiving truth from any source. Thus, Masons are devoted to freedom of thought, speech, and action. In our craft lodges, we have but a substitute for the true word. So you learn that substitute word in the Master Mason degree. Each person must ultimately seek out and find the true word for himself through his own individual efforts. Excuse me. That time of year keeps getting warm and cold and warm and cold. It's body's just getting adjusted to the new season. We were just talking about seasons earlier in this video. So yeah, I mean, guys, I could really go on and on about this. So I think I've pretty much covered, you know, what the true meaning of the lost word is. So if you take that original power of speech, that ability to, you know, adequately communicate your thoughts to those around you, you know, to help manifest really the true temple of the one living God here on earth, you know, manifest heaven on earth, and not be swayed by, you know, all the programming and stuff, but get to the core essence of what the deity or what our highest self actually is, and bring that into creation, so that we can, you know, produce a world that, you know, really at the end of the day, Manly P. Hall talks about it a little bit in his book, and I've read it before in one of my videos. I can't remember what it is, but really the kingdom of the philosopher, where those who are the wise sages and adepts, you know, they'll be kind of the ones with the higher echelons of society, and it'll be a society based on consciousness. Once again, there will be a new golden era where these things are understood. The lost word is recovered. Mankind will be remembered of their own power, which they've really always had, but it's just been subdued and we've been made to forget. But it is time to reclaim that power once more, reclaim the lost word, and go forth in our realities to be the manifestors, to remember that we are the architects of our own world. And as we create and work on our own internal temples, we will reflect that glory of the Creator in our external reality in the world around us. So, all right, everyone, I think that pretty much covers it for this video. If you find value in this video, of course, please make sure you subscribe to the channel. Go ahead and give the video a like as well. Feel free to comment if you want to get engaged in any conversation. If you have any questions or there's any other topics you would like me to discuss on my channel. So, all right, everybody, that wraps it up for this video. I hope you have a great day or night wherever you are. Peace and blessings, and until next time.